All right, I'd like to call to order the notice of regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for today, Monday, March 9th, 2026. Please stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Paula, please take the roll.
Chair Kovacevic,
Present.
Vice Chair Gray, Commissioner Proctor,
Present.
Commissioner Sevum,
Present.
Commissioner Schlossberg,
Here.
Commissioner Corrigan,
Here.
Commissioner McDermott.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to read the statement of participation. Anyone wishing to address the commission regarding items listed on the agenda or during call to the public must completely fill out a request to comment card located in the back of the council chambers and hand it to the clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Once the meeting is started, late requests to speak cannot be accepted. When your name is called, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name, and if you're a resident, for the public record. Comments may not exceed 3 minutes. It is the policy of the commission not to comment on items brought forth under call to the public. However, staff can be directed to report back to the commission at a future date or to schedule items raised for a future commission agenda. To avoid disruption of the meeting, to maintain decorum, and provide for an equal and uninterrupted presentation, applause is not permitted except during proclamations, awards, and recognitions. All meeting participants must maintain proper decorum as specified in Section 6 of the Council Rules of Procedure. This is our first meeting subject to the same rules as council. We're limited to 30 minutes per agenda item of public comment, 3 minutes each, and we will have a hard stop at 3 minutes. So please speak fast, and we'll get more people in. And please don't repeat points that have already been made, and we'll get more people in. We like to get as many speakers in as we possibly can. Okay, summary of current events by Director Wesley.
So, Commissioners, good to see you this evening and to have such a full house tonight. We don't get that very often. It's good to have the public turnout. Given the other items on your agenda this evening, I don't have any updates to take your time with tonight.
Thank you. We don't have a consent agenda, so we can move on to the regular agenda. Consideration and possible action approving the regular meeting minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission from February 9th, 2026. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 6-0. Okay, item B, public hearing, consideration and possible action, rezone of approximately 20 acres located approximately 600 feet south of the southeast corner of Golden Eagle Boulevard and Nyack Drive to allow development of 29 single-family residential lots. Farhad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and the public. Wanted to amend slightly your recitation about the rezone request. The request is from R135 to R110A to allow what the applicant is now proposing as a 25-lot, single-family lot development at the former school site on Aspen Drive, the location for which you've described. So to begin, I'll talk a little bit more about the project location and the details of the request. It's approximately a 20-acre site, and to be more precise, about 19.35 acres, located at the location you just described off of Aspen and Nyack in the, I guess you could say, the northern half of the town, the closest major street being Golden Eagle Boulevard to the east. The request is, again, rezone from R135, which allows a minimum of one dwelling unit per 35,000 square feet, to R110A, which allows one unit per 10,000 square feet. And the purpose is to develop a single-story residential subdivision for 25 lots. A little bit of background. The property is currently owned by the Fountain Hills Unified School District, was previously considered for use as a school. I believe it's been planned that way since the 70s. The district initiated a public disposal process a couple of years ago in 2024, and the sale was approved by voters in November of 2024. And currently, Toll Brothers is under escrow with the school district and is coming before you with this rezone proposal. A little bit about the site context and conditions. I showed this aerial on the upper right-hand corner earlier. It is about a 20-acre property. It is bifurcated by a natural wash on the western portion. The regulatory floodplain and the erosion setback zone pretty much constitute the wash corridor there, which is approximately 9 acres altogether. The wash serves as a drainage and wildlife habitat, and I want to say on the onset there's no construction proposed in the wash. I did provide a zoning map here on the lower right-hand corner highlighting the site. It's zoomed out a little bit more compared to the aerial photograph, but you can see to the north and east is an existing neighborhood zoned R110. And the difference between the R110 and the R110A is lot coverage. Lot coverage allowed under the R110A is a little bit more. It's at 40% lot coverage area under roof. And to the east, or rather to the west, across the wash, that allows for lower density development, although it's well across the wash here. So this area here where I got my cursor running, R135 approximately right here, and then R143 to the south of there. So the proposed rezoning, again, R110A to allow for compatibility and flexibility, flexibility with regards to the type of product being offered in relation to the lot sizes, and compatibility with the adjacent neighborhoods to the east and to the north. The applicant is proposing single-story homes, although the zoning designation, R110A, would allow two-story homes, and more on that a little bit. Typical lot size would be 80 by 130, or approximately 10,400 square feet. Some of the setbacks to keep in mind, front minimum setback of 20 feet, 7 feet on each side, and a rear setback of 20 feet. And that's a setback measured from the property line to the exterior wall of any home. And again, homes are limited to one story with a maximum lot coverage of 40%. This was the applicant, what I have before you is the applicant's original proposal, which came in with the original request and is included in the staff report. Since then, actually since Thursday, with following discussions with residents within the neighborhood, the applicant is now proposing to eliminate the 4 of the 29 lots to the north, and followed by providing a new plan seen here. By eliminating those lots, the applicant is proposing open space to the north, a centralized, a smaller open space feature here in this tract over here where I got my cursor running. And as I mentioned, The areas that you see outside the rendered area, within the property lines, of course, the applicant is proposing to maintain that as open space. At the very least, the areas shaded in blue, which is the regulatory FEMA floodplain, and the erosion setback zone, which you don't see here, but it is just behind these proposed lots to the west of the site, or I should say the west of the developed area. Open space and density. So the density under the R110A would allow 4.35 dwelling units per acre for the whole site, gross. What the applicant is proposing, the density is proposed at 1.29 dwelling units per acre, gross, and by that I mean it includes the whole area within the boundary. If you want to just take a look at the developable area here on the east side of the property, it's about 3.13 dwelling units per acre. So that's about at least 10 acres of permanent open space. The applicant might have a more precise number, but that includes, again, the natural wash, the northern edge of the site, as well as the centralized tract. And by the way, there's 2 points of vehicular access leading into this site. As far as general plan conformance, it seems through our analysis that the proposal supports reuse of is consistent with the general plan support of reuse of underutilized school district property. It's compatible with the adjacent R110 neighborhoods to the east and to the north, and it protects views and neighborhood character by limiting, as the applicant is proposing, the development of single-story homes while preserving natural resources, particularly along the wash. I've provided a citizen participation summary here briefly. Notices were mailed out beyond the 300-foot minimum from the site boundaries. There was a neighborhood meeting on January 20th, which is what those notices were announcing, in which there were at least 65 attendees. There was additional outreach and follow-up by the applicant with the public. Some of the key topics discussed were density, drainage, wildlife, views, and traffic. The community feedback at the meeting was mixed. There was quite a bit of opposition, with a few expressions of support for the single-story product, as well as the fact that the applicant was proposing to preserve the wash. There was some correspondence received very recently, March 5th, that's last Thursday. We did receive a petition of opposition in which 123 opposed the rezone. It is noted with some of the very few of the names in the petition expressed opposition to the Toll Brothers proposal, but open to the idea of rezoning the property. That's about as much detail I have at this point. But we also received 6 letters of support on that date as well. And if there are any more, I'm sure the applicant will inform. As far as our analysis, staff believes the rezoning maintains a single-family use that's consistent with the area. The design responds to the natural wash constraints. The single-story restriction protects neighbors' views with fewer traffic impacts than the potential school that was originally proposed, and supports a broad. The project would support a broader educational reinvestment through the sale of the district-owned site. So in your staff reports, I did include a couple of proposed stipulations for approval, one being that the final plat, which would come, well, after the preliminary plat, granted the rezone is approved. The final plat, we will require that there be a note limiting homes to 1 story, and also another note establishing a non-developable area for the floodplain and erosion setback area that I pointed out earlier, which is approximately 9 acres of the site. We are, after discussing additional stipulations with the applicant did agree since this morning to include a stipulation that would limit the total number of lots to 25, as depicted in the latest and greatest lot layout, which I presented earlier. It's not included in your packets, but if you need me to pull it up, I will. Certainly, if there are other stipulations for approval that we may need to be considered, that can also be discussed at this function. So our suggested motion, staff suggested motion, is to move to approve the rezoning request from R135 to R110A, subject to the 3 conditions that were listed earlier. With that, I'll conclude my presentation. I've uploaded the applicant's presentation as well to follow.
No, it's all right with the commissioners. Let's hear the applicant first before we ask questions. Okay.
Pull it up for you. You know what? I'll just pull up the PowerPoint. Yeah, I think. More full screen. Okay.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Ashley Marsh, for your records, 40 North Central with Gamage and Burnham. Thank you very much for an opportunity to address your Planning Commission tonight on behalf of Toll Brothers. I will try to keep my remarks brief as we have a full house, but I greatly appreciate your time, attention, and consideration of Toll's proposal. So as I mentioned, my name is Ashley Marsh. I am a zoning and land use attorney at Gamage and Burnham. With me this evening is Dennis Newcomb. He's senior land use planner, and Brian Vaccaro, also of our office. And I have the pleasure of introducing Bob Flaherty. He is the division president of Toll Brothers, and Mark Maloney, land director of Toll. We also have our engineering team here, Ryan Rabb and Fani Kaligotla, and I apologize, Fani, I always butcher your last name. But they were the civil engineers who put together the development plan. So any technical questions, I will refer to greater minds than myself and have Fani and Ryan address those for you. Really appreciate the thorough and robust presentation from Farhad, so I'll try to be brief in my remarks as he's covered a lot of ground, but want to start off again by thanking you, the Commission, for your time this evening and for indulging me in a few minutes. And before I get started with any of the substantive details, I do want to thank members of the community who've come out and who have come out tonight to voice their opinions about our proposal, given us a lot to consider, and we're happy to come back with a revised proposal tonight from where we originally submitted. So thank you to members of the community as well. I just didn't want to get rocking and rolling and forget to acknowledge their important part in this process. So as Farhad mentioned, we are in the northwest part of Fountain Hills here. We're about a 19-acre site. And this piece of property was originally platted in the 1970s, 1972, 1973, as a 19-acre elementary school site. So the vision for this property since the 70s has always been a school site, and this is just the plat showing that that is the demarcation for it. With that, the site inherited some larger zoning, R135, which would accommodate 35,000 square foot lots, and also accommodates schools. So think your public school, which it was intended for, charter school, and also a church. But completely surrounding it in all the developable areas is R110 zoning. And so when you look at the zoning map, you say, wow, that is R135, but it's always intended to be a school-owned property. So it never really got a zoning designation to match for residential developments. It's a holdover, for lack of a better description, from the 70s. As I mentioned, the R110 zoning is really what's developed around this site. And if you take a closer look at what's transpired since the platting of the 70s, you see quite a bit of residential development in the R110 area, but you don't see development in the R135 and the R143 around us. And that is because of topographical concerns where those larger land use designations are. But really, all the developable area is R110. And I say that and want to show you this slide here, which we've marked up, that really shows some of the topography considerations when you look at where this 19-acre site is, which is outlined in the yellow. So where you see the R110 designations, again, that's where development has occurred. Those are those existing residences. Those are single-family residential homes. And then you really get quite a few of the wash corridors. You get terrain, you get dams, and you actually get a town-owned parcel on our south side. So I just bring this up to show that the developable condition is really in those R110 areas. Much of those other zoning districts are undevelopable land. And this is just a shot showing straight on of what this site looks like. As you can see, it's relatively flat on the entryway and then does have that wash corridor and the crest up back, which is some hillside condition of that property. Farhad mentioned this in his remarks, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, so I won't belabor this point, but this particular piece of property was subject to a 2024 special election in November 2024. There were 2 properties that the school district put up for properties that were underutilized, right? They weren't being fulfilled to their greatest potential here. And these properties went to a ballot initiative in November of 2024. The proceeds from this sale, if consummated, will go into reinvesting buildings, transportation, and really support some much needed aid to the school for the health of the district. This was overwhelmingly approved by the residents of Fountain Hills. 69% voted yes, and Toll Brothers was unanimously chosen as the buyer in May of 2025. So when Toll looked at this site, just to give you a little bit of background, I really give them all the credit because they really wanted to fit something that would fit the existing fabric of this community, right? It's 20 acres surrounded predominantly by R110 homes. It was envisioned as a school site, and they really did quite a bit of legwork to say, we enjoy Fountain Hills, we like building in Fountain Hills. What could we build on this vacant, underutilized school site that matches the existing zoning, that matches the existing fabric, and a product that we can successfully bring to this area. When they looked at it, and Farhad mentioned it in his presentation, it was really important to them to keep these in the same size and scale. And so they looked at all the R110 around it and said, we have something that matches, which would be an R110A. But we don't feel it's appropriate to do 2 stories. We don't feel it's appropriate to build in the wash corridor. We understand that's important for purposes of not only drainage, but there's a wildlife consideration. We think the expectation of the neighborhood is that this wash corridor would be preserved. And so that's where this 29-unit plan really came into fruition, because it allows Toll Brothers to build a single-story product, so 1 story where 2 would be allowed. It allows Toll Brothers to preserve that wash corridor, which in and of itself is approximately 10 acres, so quite significant amount of land to reserve as open space, and really fits with what is existing there, which is R110 lots. And the only significant distinction between that R110 and R110A, which we're proposing, is lot coverage. And you saw that in your staff report, and you saw that in Mr. Tavasoli's remarks. That lot coverage goes from 30 to 40%, and that's what allows the single story to happen, because instead of building vertically, you're building now horizontally. And that 40% coverage isn't envisioned for every home. You are zoning to a maximum, so no home could be more than 40% coverage. But it's really meant to accommodate that, buyer or 2 that might want the garage extension, that might want the extended patio. Not each of these homes will have 40% maxed out lot coverage, but it does allow for that profile to remain single story for each 9 of those 29 lots. What the other thing that we wanted to look at, and again, I give Toll credit for this, is they didn't want to overwhelm the site. So that was a low density number at about 1.5 dwelling units per acre. And they wanted to retain similar circulation patterns in the area. So you see the horse shape on this site for the circulation, same as the neighbors to the north. So we really tried to mirror the circulation, make sure that these were all single-story homes, stay out of that wash corridor, again, not just for drainage considerations because it was important to Toll not to build in there, to follow those back property lines to the neighbors to the north, and to really, again, propose something that we felt was very much similar in size and scale to the existing homes. Farhad stole my thunder a little bit with the X's, but we did go ahead and have continued engagement with the neighbors. And what we heard was, we're concerned about density, we're concerned about wildlife, we're concerned about drainage, we're concerned about open space. And so in looking at the site plan with a little bit of those considerations in mind, Toll has heard from those neighbors, has heard the feedback, and has elected to eliminate 14% of their site plan, so removing 4 lots from that northwest corner to create another open space area to address some of those concerns about drainage, to create something meaningful where you've got now 1.3 additional acres of open space. So we're at over 11 acres of open space between these improvements in the wash corridor, and really be responsive to some of that feedback. With this revision, we are still able to do the single-story lots. We are still able to remain that similar circulation, and we're still able to stay out of that wash corridor. So the revised plan, as mentioned, includes 25 lots at approximately 1.3 dwelling units per acre, which is really a low-density project. This is more than half of the site open space. We're only at 19 acres. We've got over 11 now as preserved open space. And in doing so, we have eliminated a home off of Aspen. We've created another natural open space corridor and have taken some of that community feedback and implemented it on a site that Toll knows that they can deliver. With this, we hope to provide certainty to the neighbors. We've got some stipulation language that we proposed this morning, that stipulation 3 that would follow the case, that would allow for those 25 homes to be built, and a stipulation that follows this site plan, so the revised 25 units instead of the 29 we originally submitted with. Just as a conceptual rendering, this one's a little outdated. This one showed the 29 homes, but as you can see, this really does fit into the existing homes and that same kind of footprint. The R110 homes are a 10,000 square foot lot, as are these, and this is just a perspective to show that wash corridor maintained, those crest views maintained, and this vacant, flat, underutilized school district lot being developed. Just for a couple examples of homes, we are very excited to offer a product, again, that single story. There'll be 4 different models, each of them with about 4 different facades, some a little bit more traditional craftsman, some with a little bit more modern architecture. And then within this, potential homeowners will be able to choose from a menu of colors and choices. So just on these 25 lots, I think I've reiterated 4 times 4, we're 16, and we haven't even gotten to the color palette yet. So there'll be some great variation from home to home. Big points that we've heard from the community. Again, we've been out there talking to folks and trying to make sure we understood the concerns. And probably the number one concern we heard from was traffic, and how these 25 lots will go ahead and create some additional traffic considerations. Absolutely, with any type of development, you'll get more traffic there, but it is far less than the envisioned school site. And again, I showed you that plat map from 1972. This road was planned to be a school. That's what the original dedication was for lack of a better description. That column that I've highlighted shows the AM peak and the PM peak hours. Those are when you really experience traffic volumes, when you're sitting in traffic at the end of the day or in the morning. As you can see in these boxes, it's quite a bit different. Hundreds of trips reduced in the morning. If you were to move forward with a charter school or with an elementary school, And we have on this bottom column here, single-family detached, 15 dwelling units per acre, 15 dwelling units. That would be the number allowed by right under the R135. And so I would love to draw your attention just to that bottom row with the difference. And this is at 29 units. You'll see that we are, our traffic engineer has calculated that those AM peaks are only 9 more trips than if this site were be developed as by right with 15 homes, and only 14 more trips in the afternoon. So really, really low traffic differentiation between what was there by right from homes, and pretty significant traffic differentiation if this were to be developed as a school, either elementary school or charter school. And this doesn't account for, buses back and forth, whatnot. This is just trips. I went ahead and did some napkin math. I'm an attorney and not a math magician here, but just as the reduction, 14% across the board here, those trips get even less when you take those homes out. So 6 trips and 10 trips are what would be anticipated in those peak hours than if this site were to develop by right. So we understand there's a lot of traffic concerns, and we've taken a look at what those volumes look like. Again, based on the charter school and elementary school developed by right, we think that this is a much improved traffic condition than if it were developed as a school. Another thing we've heard is folks like to use Aspen to walk and to meet their neighbors, and we appreciate that. That is wonderful that folks are using Aspen and walking their dog in the morning. One thing that we've noticed is that there's no sidewalks out in front of the frontage, and with development of this site, we will be installing a sidewalk along Aspen Drive as part of our frontage, and we've also approached the town on extending the sidewalk so that this entire strip of undeveloped property, and hopefully my cursor's showing up, this is a town-owned parcel here, and we've approached the town about extending the sidewalk so that this entire stretch of frontage along Aspen will have a sidewalk to get people off the road when they're walking or participating in any type of recreational activity. The little thumbnail sketch is just a cross-section of what that might look like, but it's really exciting for Toll to be able to get pedestrians off the road and doing some street. And I apologize, this exhibit hasn't been updated on the northwest corner. It shows that lot 1, but that is a vacant lot. The other big point of feedback we've heard a lot of concern about is grading and drainage. Toll currently has a preliminary plat pending with the town, and as part of that preliminary plat, that's where you do a lot of those fine-tune engineering details. You don't necessarily submit a grading and drainage plan with a straight rezoning request, but we've got our engineers here for any specific questions. Hewitt Zollers is a phenomenal engineering firm, civil firm. They've already submitted a grading and drainage plan to the town as part of the preliminary plat, and I just show these documents to show that we've done a review of grading and drainage. That engineered document is landing with town. And this is a sketch, if you will, kind of showing some of the current existing drainage conditions in red with how our proposal will improve actually the current existing grading and drainage on this site. For a very elementary explanation, we understand that water comes and overtops Aspen, for lack of a better description, and any improvements that we make will improve that drainage condition because the flows will come from that north site, be able to be mitigated and managed and get them out to the wash. So if you indulge me just for a second, you'll see we've got a note that the existing drainage channel is currently filled with silts at the north part. A drainage track will be regraded to remove any low points and convey water to the wash, so red current, blue improved. There's currently a low area that's ponding water based on a recent topo study. This open space will be regraded to remove these low points and again convey water to the wash. We understand that, again, that storm water is topping over the existing ribbon curb into the property. A curb's proposed along Aspen Drive in front of the parcel to increase street capacity. And then there is another existing low point. There'll be a storm drain to convey water. And this is all going to help current conditions get that water into the wash. We've also gotten some feedback that our lot sizes are not compatible with the existing neighborhood. I'll just briefly explain this slide. It's kind of self-explanatory, but the R110 and R110A zoning districts require both 10,000 square foot lots. So we feel that we are compatible with the existing lot sizes in the neighborhood. You will see that there are a couple existing lots that are larger. Those are on sloped conditions. So just point that out because where our particular piece of property sits, I showed you it's relatively flat. Those are consistent with other lot sizes up and down Aspen, but there are a couple larger lots. And those are, taking into consideration slope and what's actually buildable up there. So in summary, we are very excited to request this rezoning proposal for the vacant school-owned property from R135 to R110A to accommodate those 25 single-family lots. This is a development of vacant land. School home, again, a development of vacant land will bring additional housing stock to Fountain Hills, more opportunities for home ownership, increases your tax base. We are almost identical to the adjacent R110 zoning. That increase in lot coverage, which we've shared quite a few times now, is just to accommodate those single-story homes. This creates certainty for the development of this parcel. Again, this was a ballot measure. This piece of property will be sold. It will be developed, and by doing this process, there is a limitation on density. There's preservation of open space. There's a commitment to single stories. So there's a lot of great features that come with this rezoning request and that will carry with through the development of this site. We do have staff support. I know there's a lot of folks here, and I will relinquish my stage here for lack of a better description. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Chair, I would appreciate an opportunity to address your commission again after we've heard from some folks.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Commissioners, any questions for staff or for petitioner?
Either anybody can answer the question, but the estimated price point for these homes?
Thank you. Through the chair, we are anticipating the base price to be $1 to $1.2 million for these homes.
Okay, and then gated or non-gated?
Not gated.
Not gated. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just two quick questions, and maybe this is for Ashley too. But from what I understand from your presentation, you're presenting 2 storm drains on Aspen, is that right, to come out to the wash?
Through the chair, if you don't mind if I have Ryan Rabb answer this 2 storm drains question. He's the one who engineered it. I want to make sure you get the right information.
Chair, Planning Commissioners, my name is Ryan Rabb, 5050 North 40th Street, Phoenix, with Hewitt-Zollers. It's really one storm drain system. The slide is now up there. I don't know if I can use the pointer also. So the low point currently on Aspen is at approximately this location, and we would be building curb and sidewalk along the entire street. It drains to the southeast, and it would be collected in this storm drain system that would come down and dump out into the wash.
Thank you. And the second question I had, maybe for you, maybe not. From what I see now, there are no contiguous lots with prior property. In other words, what I'm saying is that it appears that the 4 lots that have been taken out were adjacent or contiguous to other existing properties. So that's no longer the case. Is that right?
Through the chair, that's absolutely accurate. There are no contiguous lots on our revised site plan, and I'll just pull that up for your review, but absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question for Ashley. Ashley, could you talk to us a little bit about the remaining 9 acres of the property? What happens to that property?
Through the chair, thank you for that question, Commissioner McDermott. So we are not proposing any type of building on those 9 acres, and I believe you're talking to Ashbrook Wash Corridor. We are working with the town on whether they would like them dedicated, a conservation easement, if they would like a drainage and grading easement. We have the pre-plat in. It does not show any construction there. It shows future dedication, and we're happy to work with the town on if it would like to be conveyed or if they would like us to keep it and maintain it, but there's no building in that area.
Okay. Second question I have, and perhaps this is for Ryan, but could you talk to us a little bit about the street parking? Because It looks like the proposed road is, it looks like it's the same width as Aspen, but could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Through the chair, these are proposed to be public roads, so we are happy to work with the town on Aspen Drive. Our own roads, toll restricts parking on those roads, so we're not anticipating there to be, cars up and down these roads overnight. If someone comes for a football game, whatnot, and we're happy to work with the town along Aspen Drive. But it is their road.
And then last question on the parcels themselves, would they be driveways for 2 cars or 4 cars, or what's the size you envision for that?
Through the chair, they are envisioned to accommodate at least 2 vehicles on site. And again, if someone neglected additional parking, they have the garages available to them, but at least 2 cars for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Will there be an HOA?
Just going to stay up here till you excuse me, Chair. Yes, there will be an HOA that is created and maintains the open space areas and enforces their CCNRs.
Okay, and we spoke about striping on Aspen. I now understand Public Works will not allow striping on Aspen because it's not on any of the other residential roads in town. Is that,
Through the
am I
chair.
correct in that?
Thank you for that. We have proposed striping from basically Nyack up to Golden Eagle to create a bike lane and 2 lanes of traffic. We shared an exhibit with Public Works. We have not gotten confirmation that that would be accepted yet. We'd be happy to do it, but the feedback is that Public Works is not too excited about that plan.
Yeah, and I thought I had heard about sidewalk extension. Can we visit that for a second? That shows it going across the, what would it be, the entrance to the wash. Is it possible to get that extended up to Golden Eagle? I thought I had heard that.
Thank you for that question, Chair. We have proposed expending it across this vacant piece of property where the town owns this property. To extend it up to Golden Eagle would be to put it through these neighboring properties, which are privately owned. It would require changing driveways. We really wouldn't want to encroach on these neighbors. There's also some significant topographical constraints that we need to think about in doing so. This street slopes upward. So we are happy to make the extension across that town-owned property to get people around this curve, and that's what this line shows. But we really wouldn't want someone's driveway rearranged to extend that sidewalk up to Golden Eagle.
And the last item that I recall from meeting was there were some existing ponding situations was it on Aspen Drive? And what is the proposal to remediate that?
Thank you, Chair. So I just bring up this exhibit again, and I'm happy to have Ryan come and address any other concerns. But essentially, there is some ponding in this area where the open space cursor is. There's low ponding water, and the open space will be regraded to remove these points and convey it into the wash. So there's some here. There's also a little bit, and Ryan, if you want to come in and correct me here, we understand there's a little bit of a low point on the street, and the curb will help get these flows back into the wash.
Okay.
With respect to the wash, I know you mentioned that you may not be dedicating or providing an easement for the town. If this were to move forward, I would hope that you have more discussions with the town about having them maintain it so there's continuity and there's not, well, they should have maintained this part or that part or whatever it might be, because they do get overgrown and they do provide, or we do end up with water issues. So I hope that you and the town can have some discussions about that and rather than depending on the HOA, Because if the HOA doesn't have the money to do it for whatever reason, who do they fall back on, right? So that, hopefully that can be pursued as well.
Through the chair, we would be happy to dedicate it to the town.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Chair.
Paula, do we have any comment cards?
We do, Chair. We have 8 speaker cards for the project. We have 7 speaker cards against the project and 7 non-speaking cards against the project and 9 online for against the project. So the speaker cards, with that said, we're going to be calling speakers in increments of 3. So be ready to go because the session is only 30 minutes total for public comment. So the first speaker I have is Tammy Bell, and then it will be Jean Serrano, and then Richard Workowski.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Tammy Bell. I have been a resident in Fountain Hills for 21 years and have been living on Aspen for 17 of those. So I want to thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration of this proposed development on Aspen Drive. These decisions I know are not simple, and I do appreciate the responsibility you carry to hear our concerns and also consider the long-term needs of our town. As a resident, I am directly affected by this proposal, so I have explored the project in great detail. I have consulted with the town's engineering team on my own, I have listened to the neighbors, and I have engaged directly with the developer to explore my concerns and solutions. I've been very impressed with Toll Brothers. I want to say their representatives, they have genuine interest to listen to us. They have met with the residents in an open forum as well as in our individual homes and have addressed concerns wherever possible. This level of personal engagement has been greatly appreciated. I cannot imagine what the developer could have done more to reasonably hear, understand, and address the concerns of the surrounding residents. What Toll Brothers is proposing tonight provides me great certainty. A high-quality builder with established reputation, single-level homes, cooperation with the town on traffic, drainage, pedestrian safety, and preserved areas, limiting lot coverage to no more than 40%, and all with demonstrating willingness to work with our neighbors. By contrast, maintaining the current zoning could allow uses with far greater traffic and impact in my neighborhood. Realistic alternatives could include 17 two-story homes with absolutely no neighborhood input, a private or charter school with large drop-off and pickup activity. I don't know if you guys have ever been near Basis on Shea, but I do not want that on my street. A church with large parking areas, or 25 single-level homes with drainage enhancements, public safety and traffic considerations, and designated preserved areas. If you were to give me all these realistic options, my choice is clearly the proposal you have in front of you today. While these homes may not target young families, they do serve long-term health of Fountain Hills. This proposal aligns with the general plan, supporting orderly and predictable growth, sustains the town's tax base and financial stability, supports local businesses and services, maintains and protects our property values, provides neighbors certainty through thoughtful design and consideration of our neighborhood, and supports our largest employer in town, the Fountain Hills Unified School District, allowing it to progress. For all of these reasons, I am in favor of the rezoning request, and I respectfully urge you to consider approving it tonight as well. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Jean Serrano, and I live at 15213 East Shootout Plaza. I want to focus specifically on Toll Brothers' assertion that this development will attract families and young working professionals to Fountain Hills, consistent with Goal 3 of the general plan. The numbers simply do not support that claim. The average home price in Fountain Hills is already approximately $700,000. The average household income is roughly $140,000. At that level income, even purchasing an average home in town is financially challenging. Toll Brothers is proposing homes starting at $1.2 million and above. Homes at this price point are not designed for teachers, nurses, first responders, young professionals, or young families. They are designed for buyers with established wealth, such as retirees, second home owners, and individuals with mature financial portfolios. There is nothing wrong with serving that market segment, but it is misleading to suggest that 25 luxury homes will diversify our age demographics, improve housing affordability, or attracting working families to Fountain Hills. All 5 of my daughters have moved out of Fountain Hills to find housing for their young families as they can't afford it here. This proposal does not address affordable housing need. It does not create sustainable or attainable housing. It does not support the workforce that keeps this community functioning. It simply increases density at the top end of the market. Goal 3 of the general plan is about sustaining and strengthening our community. Toll Brothers' proposal does not advance that goal. The Planning and Zoning Commission should not allow a marketing narrative to substitute for the economic realities of our town. Multi-million-dollar homes will not attract families and young working professionals to Fountain Hills. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Rich Rutkowski. As of this summer, I'll be a 25-year resident of Fountain Hills. I'm also president of the Fountain Hills School Board. Although tonight I am speaking for myself and not as a representative of the board as a whole. I do support the proposed rezoning of the Aspen property, and here are some of my reasons. As we heard, in November 2024, the Fountain Hills voters expressed their will, 69% to 31%. The district is listening to and acting upon the will of the voters. The sale will be of significant financial benefit to the district schools, the students, and parents by generating funds to keep our school buildings in safe and proper condition and to address needed roof replacement and HVAC systems awaiting attention. The sale will financially benefit taxpayers by repurposing vacant property, which is not and will not be needed for a school building. This will help us preserve other funds for teacher salaries and classroom use. We heard that the rezoning plan preserves the wash and significant open space among the entire parcel of land. The proposed rezoning, as we heard, also matches the density of the existing homes on Aspen and the adjacent streets. We heard about single-story homes to preserve views. As we also heard, the current zoning would allow 2-story homes on the property. The designs of the new homes are likely to have a positive effect and increase the property values of the existing homes in the neighborhood. So for all these reasons and others, I urge you to vote to approve the proposal. Thank you.
Next group of speakers will be in order of Liza Morridge, Dale Tilzar, and Matt Wilson.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Liza Morrick, 2-year resident here. I oppose this, and the reason being, when I first moved over here to Scottsdale, when I moved to Scottsdale from Chicago, 2019, I saw a Darrow being built, and it was beautiful, and the homes are very pretty. It's still being built, and it's just homes upon homes upon homes. And when I found out that that style of home was coming to Fountain Hills, I was actually just not happy about it at all. I think that we have an amazing, beautiful town here in Fountain Hills, and the style of these Toll Brother homes is just not something that we need over here on this side of our community. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dave Tilzer. My address is 15856 North Aspen Drive, and I've been a resident 1 year this month. We moved to Fountain Hills because it was really quiet and nice, originally from Seattle area, no traffic, a lot of things really good about it. We found out shortly after we bought our home that the school was selling the property. There's a couple comments that have been made in the last few weeks that I want to clarify. I keep hearing about originally it's going to be a school. We've even been told as residents, if you don't accept this, they might put a school there. We know there's not going to be a school there. The reason why we know it is because we can't fill the school buildings that we have today. So we just want to make sure that we're factual in our statements, and we would appreciate that as residents. The other thing is, we're going to have someone, if he comes up, if he has the ability to come up, to talk about traffic. It's not about the flow of the traffic. It's not about the density or how much traffic. It's about the design of Aspen Drive. We have two blind corners up on the map, up on that, coming right out of the new homes, that is already dangerous to the residents. The residents have contacted the town on several occasions, asked for help. They've had no response. The other thing is, there is one driveway from one of our residents that faces the road. It's that far right road going out. The house across the street is their house. In fact, she's here. Yeah. The driveway faces the road, the road coming out. So it's really dangerous for them to try to get their car out of the driveway and move down the road. And we've mentioned these things. But the other thing I want to talk about is lot coverage. We hear lot coverage is similar. I just want to be clear on the facts. I'm glad Ashley brought up the map to show that it isn't all 30% in Aspen Drive neighborhood. There is some coverage of lots a lot smaller than 30% or 40%. But the last thing that I really want to talk about is how much I'm for Toll Brothers. I'm for Toll Brothers because they actually came to our house. They spent an hour and a half, and we've had a couple conversations. We had a Zoom meeting with them. They came to our house and talked to us because they put in the letter, if you have any questions, come talk to us, or we'll come see you. And they did that. They spent an hour and a half, and they listened to our concerns. They negotiated us for that hour and a half. We said, hey, density is an issue. That's when they agreed to remove, well, it took them a day or two to think about it, but that's when they removed the 4 homes, which went right back to some of the neighbors' houses. Okay.
Time's up.
Last point. I just want to say, I appreciate Toll Brothers. I support Toll Brothers as a developer, and I support their plan because who knows what we're going to get otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for holding the hearing tonight. My name is Matt Wilson. I live on 15824 North Eagles Nest Drive. I'm within that 300-foot range that you've seen on the map over here. I've talked to a lot of neighbors about this program, about what's going on, to get a feel for how everybody, feels in the community about this. I can tell you a few things. First of all, nobody wants a school built there. Nobody's expecting a school built there. Maybe I'm a relic from the 70s as well, but nobody's expecting that to happen. And nobody's also under the impression that this land should not be developed. Everybody understands that this land was going to be sold and it was going to be developed. I think when you go back to the actual study that was done by the school board, where they came back and they did a study on the land saying, what is the feasibility of sale? What's it valued at? What could we reasonably put on there in its current zoning? They came back and said, this is about 12 to 14 homes. And that was a study done by Nathan and Associates back in 2024 for the sale. That is what people went to the polls with. When they had this ballot right here and they went to the polls, they were expecting 12 to 14 homes down the street. And they could live with that. That's not a big deal there. But now what's happening is we're moving the goalpost in the middle. We're adjusting things so that we're accommodating the developer instead of saying, no, this is what we felt it was designed for, this is what it's zoned for, this is pretty much what the community went to the polls to vote for, and now we're asking that to be changed over here. I don't think anybody is under the impression that this shouldn't be developed. What I'm saying is that we need to take a look at exactly this, because the density that's being proposed between 10 and 10A doesn't sound like a big deal, but that lot coverage on there is going to make it a lot closer together for the homes. And personally, when I moved out here, and I've been here 13 years, I didn't like the homes that were close together. I'd like to have a little bit of space between my neighbors. That 7-foot buffer between homes, I don't even think that's as far as between you and Mr. Kosovic. I don't think that's even that far here. And that's exactly what we're proposing. So I know there's a lot of other topics on the plan tonight that they're speaking about the traffic, which that is a dangerous curve. I've walked it many times. I've driven it. I'm shocked that there's not been an accident there before. Mark my words, if you don't do anything on that one, sooner or later, someday, somebody is going to get hurt if nothing's going to happen. But my proposal on this is, why do we have to go back to R110A for the density on this one? Why is R118 not an option in here? Could we not find a program that develops it at that level as well? Would that not find a middle ground between what a developer's needs are and between what the community could accept? That's my point. I'll yield my time. Thank you.
Next speakers will be Bert Wolf, Robert Baranoff, and, Carmina Ray D'Amore.
Good evening. I am Bert Wolf. I'm a resident. There is no need for the opponents of this proposal to bash another area in town to advance their parochial agenda. The toll development in Adero Canyon contains multiple examples of nationally award-winning architecture. There is a consistency and a rhythm to the architecture that other areas in town do not necessarily possess. Does it appeal to everyone? Nothing does. Yet the fact remains that hundreds of these homes have been bought in this beautiful area of our town, and home buyers' preferences are revealed by the purchasing choices when they are affordable to them. Now let's turn to the proposal at issue. I support the proposed rezoning. Beyond preserving some 12 acres as open space, Toll seeks to build single-family homes on lots of at least 10,000 square feet, which is, by definition, low-density housing. There are already many homes on 10,000 square foot lots in the immediate vicinity of this parcel. 10,000 square foot lots are therefore compatible with the character of the neighborhood as it currently exists. We have many examples within a quarter mile or less of the proposed development. According to the county assessor's office, here are nearly 24 homes with lots between just 10,000 and 10,099 square feet, except for 15844 North Aspen, which abuts this parcel and is 9,878 square feet. So there's 15844 and 16011, 018, 042, 050, 058, and 16220 on North Aspen. There's 15633, 656, 802, 814, 815, 819, 820, and 824 on North Eagle Nest. There's 404 and 405 on East Roundup, and 15208 and 214 on East Shootout. There's also 15860 on North Nyack, 15205 on East Rusty Nail, and 15403 on East Wrangler. Further, R10A lot coverage at 40% is just 10% more than R10 lot coverage at 30%. The minimum the minimum yard setbacks are the same for the front and the side and differ by only 5 yards in the rear. Proposed rezoning at R10A need not be identical in every respect, but rather merely compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, and plainly, here it is. Moreover, Toll builds beautiful homes. The proposed homes are expected to be new and modern with very attractive designs. This proposal is an asset to the neighborhood, will likely increase the property values there, and is good for the town. For a variety of reasons that others have expressed, the proposal serves the public interest. Mindful of this commission's time limits, I will stop there. Thank you all so much.
Good evening. My name is Robert Baranoff. I live on Golden Eagle Boulevard. On the card I had to fill out, I was asked if I was for or against the agenda item. Let me be clear. I am neither for nor against the project against the project itself at this point. I am against the Planning and Zoning Commission passing or recommending the project at this time because I feel that it would be premature. There are a number of outstanding issues that I believe, in the name of due diligence, need to be resolved before one can make that determination. Number one, as others have mentioned in more detail, I believe an independent traffic study needs to be done. Number two, I know that Toll Brothers, to their credit, has addressed certain water runoff issues in their proposal, but I don't believe it is good practice to rely on a party that has such a vested interest in the outcome. Therefore, I think the town needs to hire an independent hydrologist to study the impact of their development plans on drainage, runoff, flooding, etc. Number three, likewise, we need a study analyzing the potential impact of the project on wildlife. We all know that the wash is home to and used as a traffic route by coyotes, javelinas, bobcats, rabbits, and even the occasional Gila monster, which, by the way, became the first venomous animal in North America to receive legal protection in 1952. We need a study on how these animals will be impacted. Number 4, there's an outstanding legal question as to whether or not the property in question is subject to the rules and oversight of the Neighborhood Property Owners Association, or NPOA. Toll Brothers says that it is not, but the NPOA insists that it is. To support its case, Toll Brothers points to a 1973 amendment to the Declaration of Reservations. This amendment, however, doesn't say that the deletion nor the unrestricted use of Lot 4, Block 2 from the recorded plat is in perpetuity only until there is a determination as to how the lots will be developed. Well, that time is now. So the legal question is this property once again subject to NPOA restrictions? Has it been subject to them all along, as asserted by the NPOA itself, or at least since 1974 when the declarant decided to give the land to the school system? Or is Toll Brothers correct that they are not bound by the NPOA? Under any circumstances, until we know the answer, I think it's premature to proceed. Number 5, the information you received prior to tonight's meeting, of course, was for 29 houses. Now we're talking about 25 houses, and we obviously need some assurance that it's the 25 home plan that would be under consideration, not the 29 home plan. In closing, let me say that I and other neighbors appreciate Toll Brothers' willingness to respond to neighborhood concerns. But there's more to be done, more independent impact studies and legal questions that need to be resolved before this project is ready to move forward. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board. My name is Carmen Demore with my wife, Ray Demore. We preside at 15844 North Aspen Drive. And if you look at that plan, we are the most affected on that entire project. We have met with the Toll Brothers, their attorneys, their representatives, and I have to say that they were extremely amicable. They personally came to our homes and met with us. They addressed our concerns, and for that, they were able to remove 4 of those homes, 2 of which were going to be behind us, one on the side of our house and one directly behind us. So for that, I say thank you very much for your compassion and your dedication. What I do want to say, though, is that I noticed in the paperwork for tonight, the agenda, you're already recommending approving this. I ask you, each and every one of you, to not rubber stamp this project until you get the facts straight. You've heard an awful lot of things going on. Most aren't true. A lot is true. But you, as representatives of this community, have the responsibility to hear our voice, not the commissioner's voice. You need to hear us. Having said that, we've talked about traffic and the traffic safety. 2 Fridays ago, we had Friday on the internet, standing there with, I don't know, some supervisors, superintendents of the school, saying, we've been here for 20 minutes now at 10 a.m. on a Friday, and 4 cars have gone by. Holy cow, what kind of traffic could that be? Are you kidding? Seriously? Please do your due diligence. That is not a traffic study. In closing, I want to say that my wife and I are in favor. If this goes through and moves forward, we are in favor of Toll Brothers being the builder of choice. Thank you for your time.
The next set of speakers are Larry Schmidt, Pamela Cook, and Susan Titus. Larry Schmidt, are you here? No? Larry Schmidt. Okay, Pamela Cook, are you here?
Chair, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Pamela Cook. I live at 15659 North Aspen Drive. If you look at the map, you can see my driveway is directly across from the southern entrance of the proposed development. I'm here to request that Toll Brothers conduct a traffic impact analysis for this development. Section 2307 of the zoning ordinance requires this analysis for rezoning application of this magnitude. This requirement exists for a reason. Aspen Drive already presents real measurable hazards. There are blind curves and steep grades. Sight distance is limited in multiple locations. Toll Brothers proposes to add more than 60 additional daily vehicle trips. This represents a meaningful increase in collision and pedestrian risks and emergency response delays. I am particularly concerned about the southern entrance to the proposed development. This spot comes up quickly. It's deceptive for drivers coming down a hill from Golden Eagle Boulevard at a legal 35 miles an hour or faster who hit a blind corner just before this entrance. I've learned to check my rearview mirror before the blind corner to make sure there is no one coming down the hill too closely behind me, someone who might rear end me as I slow down to make the 90-degree right turn into my driveway. Backing out of my driveway is a high-speed event. Many drivers traveling both ways into the corner are going too fast and are blindly carried into the middle of the road. Downhill northbound drivers coming to the blind corner are often forced into the oncoming traffic lane by my neighbor's landscaper's truck. As they come around the corner, besides making pedestrians leap into my yard on a regular basis, they often encounter my landscaper's truck and trailer or delivery van stopped in front of the house. It's easy to envision the perfect storm with 60 additional car trips being made, of one vehicle parked in front of my house, another vehicle or vehicles at a full stop waiting to turn left into the southern entrance, as a car coming down the hill at 35 miles around the corner arrives on the scene with nowhere to go, like the pedestrians when I come down around the corner. We are also concerned about the impact on first responders. Narrow travel lanes and roadside parking already limit the maneuverability. With the 25 new homes and limited on-site parking, overflow parking onto Aspen Drive, it's not speculative, it is inevitable. We've all seen people don't use their garages. Constricted access for fire and medical responders is a public safety issue, not a neighborhood preference. The overflow parking on Aspen is also an issue as there is heavy pedestrian usage, including many young children on bikes who do not know the rules of the road, and watching them go up around the blind corner gives me a heart attack. I do appreciate that Toll Brothers has offered to put in a sidewalk. Without the required study, there is no real objective basis for the Commission to conclude that this project will maintain acceptable levels of service, preserve emergency access, or protect the public safety. Rezoning without the mandated traffic study would mean approving density first and evaluating the consequences later. That's backwards. I sincerely request that Toll Brothers comply with Section 2307 and provide the traffic impacts the law requires. Thank you.
Were you Pam Cook? Susan Titus. Okay, the next person is going to be
Good evening. Susan Titus, 15633 North Eagles Nest Drive. I'm representing myself and my husband. We own the property. We bought the property in 2001. And when we bought the property on the corner of Eagles Nest and Aspen, we knew that the school owned the property or deeded the property. So there's been no secrets about that. The zoning had been in place for quite some time as far as the number of lots. I have called 3 mayors in the years that we have owned the property to ask for traffic counts on Aspen. Aspen is a real issue as far as safety. We are right on the corner of that area. We are right by a blind curve, and we take our lives in our hands every time we drive in that area. The improvement cannot be done by grading or doing sidewalks or anything else. It's the traffic count that counts. I have also called mayors, the past mayors here, about having speed bumps. They tell us you cannot have a speed bump in our area on Aspen and all that because it's just too dangerous. We could not get to the cul-de-sacs and the people that need the help if they have to do travel down Aspen with a speed bump. So we have had no issues as far as talking to mayors and having any help at all in a traffic issue. That's not even counting the intersection of Aspen and Golden Eagle, because, anyway, it's just amazing how that you have not really requested speed counts and car counts. It's just, it's so wrong that somebody stands there at 10 in the morning and thinks it's a working neighborhood. We bought it as a working neighborhood, and it is still that. It is a community, a small community of working and very giving people. Thank you.
Chair, we have 24 seconds left.
Do we have any more speaker cards?
We do. Do you want to continue?
One more? No, by the time they get up here, it'll be.
Catherine, it looks like Capoto. I can't read this.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Capozzi. I live at 15329 East Walnut Lane, Fountain Hills. I'm an Arizona native and resident of Fountain Hills for 10 years. And so maybe I can't do it in 8 seconds. I want to talk about the wildlife. Currently, there's no proper assessments that's been done. In addition, there are lots of coyotes, javelinas, which would be a big issue. In addition, my daughters ride their bikes all the time, so they make no mistake about the issues with the traffic. It is incredibly risky. I am very concerned about the numbers of houses that would go up, so I really ask that you consider that. Also, there are federally endangered species that also need to be in check and looked at in terms of the wash and the impact there. So that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Okay, this will close the public hearing. And commissioners, any further comments?
I think, Ashley, could you address anything related to the wildlife hazards? I was just curious, did you check like the IPAC database and to see if there's any threatened and endangered species in the area?
Through the chair, thank you for that question. So we did do an initial impact environmental assessment with our due diligence. That's very typical to do. We are preserving 11 acres of open space for wildlife. So we do hear those concerns, and we'd be hard pressed not to acknowledge those, but there's 11 acres of open space available. That is a direct result of wildlife considerations as well.
Any protected habitat or anything?
Through the chair, I do not believe we found any protected habitat.
Okay. Actually, I think you presented earlier to us and the audience, the public, a traffic study. That traffic study was done by a traffic engineer or, okay. So this study, I think there's a footnote on the bottom. Average rates were calculated by dividing total trips generated using regression equation by the number of dwelling units. So I'm assuming that's a scientific study.
Through the chair, correct. So CivTech commissioned this study. I just extrapolated the chart for you so you could read it, but a traffic engineer went ahead and did these counts for us. The notations on the side in the blue are my map in NAF with the reduction in density, but the slide before this is all generated by CivTech. Dawn Cartier, she is one of the most well-respected traffic engineers in the state.
Oh, thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Proctor.
Am I on? There I am. Thank you, Commissioner Corrigan. You stole one of my questions, but I do have a second. Counselor, thank you for your presentation. One of the comments was made about the NPOA. Are there any legal issues between toll and NPOA and the development of a new HOA?
Through the chair, thank you for bringing that up. And I have a slide here. I'm not sure it will let me get to it. Let me see. We are not subject to the NPOA. I appreciate that question, and I've got an excerpt of our amendment to the declaration from the 1970s. Again, there is a mapping error on the NPOA's website. We have provided this document to the NPOA that we are not part of the NPOA.
And did they respond?
We've had some back and forth correspondence with the NPOA. We believe that we are not part of the NPOA. We've had the title, and we've had title attorney review that. That is not my wheelhouse. I stick with colors on maps. But we've provided them all the documentation that they've requested and had a couple back and forths with them. We haven't heard anything back from them.
Thank you.
Thank you. And through the chair, I'm happy to provide additional points as you see fit, or answer questions. I've got some rebuttal slides as well.
Yeah, does it make sense to have an amendment to the traffic study done to propose mitigation of the blind curves that feed your development?
Chair, thank you for that question. So we are not required to do a traffic study, and I bring this to your attention. These are requirements for PAD. We've heard reference for we're required to do a traffic study, required to do a traffic study. That is when you are seeking these type of documents for what's called a plan area development. That is create your own zoning district, for lack of a better description. This site was always envisioned to be a school site when it was platted. I've showed the traffic volumes. It's for additional consideration of much larger traffic volumes when this site was designed. That said, we are happy to continue to work with the town on additional mitigation measures, and we have proposed one striping proposal, for lack of a better description. We're happy to continue to work with the town. To that effect, if you don't mind, Chair, I've actually drafted a stipulation that would require us to keep working with Public Works on striping and signage along the frontage of Aspen Drive extending east to Golden Eagle. We do feel that sidewalk extension is going to get pedestrians off that blind curve, so to speak, so we feel like that's a step in the right direction, and we're happy to keep working with Public Works on that, and I'm happy to pass around a stipulation for this Commission's consideration that would require us to keep working with Public Works.
But we've heard over and over again tonight about the unsafe conditions regarding the blind curves. And you've been so receptive, and I appreciate that, to the neighborhood's concerns, but I haven't heard that one addressed, and that just seems like it's not a difficult fix.
Chair, thank you very much for that feedback. We agree, and we proposed a striping plan to the town. That has not been received. We've studied the geometry of that. The geometry fits the town's requirements for the road. It's the town's road. We are happy to work with additional striping. We're happy to work with additional signage of that. We're happy to address ongoing existing concerns. Again, I've got a stipulation that we will continue to work with Public Works. We've already put forth one proposal. We are extending a sidewalk, so we're definitely doing what we can working with those existing conditions. And again, I'm happy to address this. This road was designed for much bigger volumes for a school site. It's in the general plan designated as school site. It is in the plat as a school site. The town has designed this road to accommodate a school site. We're at much lower volumes than that, and we're happy to continue working on any siding or striping that the town will allow us to do. But at the end of the day, it's their road.
Yeah, and I understand. So John, and I think John just exited. John, how do we get Public Works to acknowledge this is a problem, that the neighbors feel this is a problem that we need to address?
Chair, Commissioners, I was just pondering how to respond to that potential question. I'm not sure I've gotten quite there yet. But the little bit of discussion I have had with the engineering staff, they are aware of it. The proposal that was put in for the striping was not one that they were willing to move forward with, as far as I understand at this point. But I'm sure they'll be willing to work with the applicant as we go through the planning processes to see what solutions can work at this particular location. Stipulation, excuse me, a stipulation on the zoning that they proceed with that prior to getting to town council, I think is a viable solution. And by the time we get to town council, hopefully we can have those alternatives ready for the council to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a quick question. That blind curve existed well before Toll Brothers came along. It's always been a problem. My question is, will the proposed development by Toll exacerbate that blind curve, make it worse?
Through the chair, thank you for that question. No, we've studied the geometry. We do not believe that condition is exacerbated. We are working with existing conditions. I put the volumes up here again. Again, this street has been designed, has been planned as a future school site to accommodate a lot bigger volumes. We are going to have minimal impact to this curve. We understand, we appreciate the community's concern. We are offering a stipulation to continue to work with Public Works on that, but to your point, Commissioner, this is an existing geometry we're working within as well, and this is a much less intense than any other site plans. Thank you.
So I have one more question. So what stipulations are on the table, including the Public Works stipulation?
Thank you, Chair. So we are prepared to make sure we get this resolved, right? That's the end of the day. We want to get this resolved. So we have a stipulation prepared that we shall work with Public Works on striping and signage along the frontage of Aspen Drive, extending east towards Golden Eagle, so from our frontage out to the main road. And then I also have another stipulation here regarding that sidewalk extension that we had shown, and I'm happy to distribute copies to your commission through Ms. Woodward if appropriate. We have two stipulations to require that sidewalk extension and to continue working with Public Works on signing and striping for the remaining piece of that road.
And we have three other stipulations.
So total of
25 lots in accordance with the site plan, single story, and the set aside of the non-developable area.
Correct, Chair.
So that's 5 stipulations. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, the public portion of the hearing's closed. So there are 5 stipulations. Director Wesley.
Chair, I would suggest that the one with regarding Public Works be stated a little bit more broadly than just signage and striping. There may be other solutions that might be envisioned besides those 2. And I would also, I'm not sure exactly of the wording, I haven't read what Ashley has, but that resolutions be prepared to present to the town council. So for whatever reason we don't feel like we get there by the date of the hearing, then that hearing would need to be continued at that point until we do have solutions.
I want to get the stipulations right. So maybe we should see the stipulation you prepared. Do you have a copy for all the commissioners?
And Chair, we're happy to revise that to traffic mitigation to incorporate a broader swoop, as Mr. Wesley said. I can hand it if you want.
While she's handing out, Commissioner Spiel.
Regardless of what happens with this, the area needs to, the traffic needs to be addressed. There's council members, there's the mayor, the people are here. I think that Public Works needs to address this because it is obviously a problem. There's got to be a solution to it. This is increasing traffic by such a small amount, but if there's a problem, it should be addressed. And Toll Brothers is willing to work on whatever they can, but I think it's a town issue that you have every right to ask about this. It's an aside to this project, frankly, but it is obviously a problem that needs to be addressed. So I'd encourage you to, if you can't get, look, If you can't get action from Public Works, then go to a different level. Maybe you can get someone's ear to address your problem.
Anybody else? Okay, then we're ready for a motion. Again, there are 5 stipulations in addition to the R1-10A. And I would like to make sure traffic mitigation is added to the Public Works stipulation. So it's the Public Works Department on striping, signage, and traffic mitigation along the frontage of Aspen Drive, extending east to Golden Eagle Boulevard. And do we need to go over the 5 stipulations again?
Chair, I think, to be clear, we should. Just to, I mean, we have it written down. If I could try a review, one is a note shall be included on the final plat limiting homes to 1 story. Second, a note shall be included on the final plat that would establish a non-developable area for the area defined by the regulatory flood plan and erosion setback limits. And the 2 stipulations that Toll has given us for striping. Toll Brothers shall work with Public Works Department on striping and/or signage and traffic mitigation along the frontage of Aspen Drive, extending east to Golden Eagle Boulevard. And secondly, Toll Brothers shall work with the Public Works Department regarding extending their required sidewalk along the frontage of Aspen Drive east approximately 136 feet on the town-owned property. I'm missing any other.
25 lots.
25 lots, yes.
So
It would
those
not be
5
29, it'd be 25.
That's correct, 25 lots. So those are the 5 stipulations.
Okay. Well, Chair, if you will, I'll make a motion. I'll try to get through this. I move that the Commission approve the rezone of approximately 20 acres located approximately 600 feet south of the southeast corner of Golden Eagle Boulevard and Nyack Drive from R135 to R110A to allow development of 25 single-family residential lots subject to the conditions I previously said. Can I get away with that?
Does that work for you, Paula?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
I do have a question, though. Is the traffic mitigation part of this added to the 5?
Yes, it's part of the
stipulations.
Of the stipulation on
Okay.
striping, signage, and traffic mitigation
Okay.
along the frontage. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second the motion.
Can we have a roll call vote, please? Oh, do you want? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I guess there was someone that mentioned that we had already made up our mind, that these recommendations that did not come from this body. It comes from staff. And I'm not throwing them under the bus. I'm just telling you that we are a commission that works with the planning department in them providing us opportunities that people bring forward to them. And we make decisions based on facts that are provided to us. And that's where it came from. So there's no conclusions before that were made. Obviously, we've had a lot of material to read. That's provided some great information for us as well to review. We also don't make decisions based on price. If Toll Brothers wanted to come in here and build condos for $350,000 on our 110, we would address it the same way. You wouldn't be happy about that? My experience is brand new neighborhoods that are contingent or adjacent to existing neighborhoods tend to help prices go up because they can't build for what your home is worth. It's going to be higher in price. The traffic, again, the traffic counts, they'll be addressed. But I just wanted to say that these conclusions that we draw are made from information that's provided to us, testimony that's given from you, the applicant. It's not predetermined. So this is great having all the information, all the input, but I think we're making a decision based on everything that I've just said. So I think that's worth it.
Thank you. Commissioner Schlossberg, did you have something to say? Roll call vote, please.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sevim?
Aye.
Commissioner Schlossberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Corrigan?
Aye.
Commissioner McDermott?
Aye.
Chair Kovacevic?
Aye.
6-0.
Moving on to regular agenda. You want to take a break? Okay. John, we're going to take 5? Okay. Okay, item C, public hearing with consideration and possible action relating to ordinance 26-02, amending the zoning ordinance, chapter 27, downtown overlay, section 27.02A, related to permitted density for residential development.
Chair, thank you very much. That's probably half the report right there in that title. So just very quickly, because we've talked about this before, you've already had a long evening, but as we have developed the new downtown overlay ordinance a few months ago, taking that to town council as they were considering the actual rezoning, a question came up about the allowed density in the overlay, currently set at 35 units per acre. So this was on your January 12th meeting as a public hearing. There was some discussion that night about some other related concerns with the downtown and how it's designed and working, as well as the density question itself, and it was continued to tonight's meeting for further review and discussion. Since then, I've had discussions with the chair and member of the Plat 208 board and committee, and gotten some of their input on what's possible and not possible in this area. And basically, any redevelopment of the parking lots is virtually impossible. It's jointly owned by all the owners, and the decision-making required to do anything differently in those parking areas, again, will make that, again, virtually impossible to make any changes there. And we do need to move forward with making a recommendation with regard to the density. You've had the public hearing started back at your January meeting. You've got 90 days to move forward. That will be prior to your next meeting. So there are constraints. There were some concerns about how much density could actually happen, how much residential could really happen. Maybe that will overpower the commercial uses that we desire to see. But again, the Avenue District itself does not allow any residential on the ground floor. It'll always have to remain non-residential uses in that area. In the business district, you can have ground floor residential only through approval of a special use permit. So again, the commission, the council have control over how much of that area would ever become a residential on a ground floor. So you have the ability there to maintain the commercial and other non-residential uses that are desired in the district. And the Innovation District on the north end doesn't have any residential by right. It's all through special use permit and has no of the minimum densities that we're trying to get in the rest of the area. So maximum height of 40 feet. So again, you're not going to get tall buildings with lots of residential. Again, the common open space areas provide the parking. Won't be developed. So we looked at this last time as we were trying to come to the numbers. If we use Verde River and Avenue of the Fountains as a center point and drawing a circle for the typical kind of walk area, the kind of that downtown mixed-use area we're trying to create, studies say we should have someplace between 12 to 15,000 per square mile. Again, that's a much larger area. So we bring that down to this area. We're looking at someplace between 750, 900 dwelling units within this area. There's currently about 350. So adding 400 to 500 more dwelling units overall throughout this area. The main discussion point here has been with regard to the overlay with the Plat 208, which are these 4 blocks centered on Verde River and Parkview. Each of these blocks is right around 11 acres in size. A lot of it is taken up in the parking. There are about 21 acres of platted lots within here. Of that, about half are still vacant at 11.5 acres of vacant land that can be built upon. So the densities. If we'd like to see someplace around 300 dwelling units within Plat 208 over time. So looking at the options here at 15 units per acre, if all of the buildable area were built with residential at 15 units per acre, you could get close to that. But when you look at just the number of vacant lots, you're at 88 units, just filling in the vacant lots. So going up from there with 25 and 35 and 45 units per acre, just giving you kind of that range to look at for discussion purposes from the last meeting. You can see what the totals might be. So at 45 units per acre and all the vacant lots being built on with residential at that density, we're still a little bit below what we'd kind of like to see in the area. It's most of the developed lots are not likely to redevelop. Some will. We've seen that already with coming back of the Belvedere across the street, and I'll mention that again here in a minute. Developed building, came back and added commercial or added residential, and another one further down on the avenue. So it will happen, it has happened, but we won't see all of the existing lots redevelop with residential. And not all vacant lots will develop with residential. We've been talking to some owners of some lots that are looking at development that do not include residential, but a couple other we've been talking to recently are looking at that combination. So again, we'll see a mix, we'll continue to see a mix of uses throughout the area. One of the points that was made at the last meeting is when you look at a typical multifamily development, you'll see the density is also spread over the parking and the open space and so forth. It goes and makes up that total development. Here, we've been focusing on just the buildable lots themselves at the densities. When we translate that into an entire block, that includes then all the common parking, which would be more typical how we would calculate density. That 15 units per acre becomes 6.7 units per acre, and the 25 becomes 10.6, and the 35 becomes 15, and the 45 becomes 20.9. So comparatively, that's still, even at the 45, that is less than what the R4 and the R5 densities allow when done in a more typical development fashion. Again, some examples across the street here on Avenue of the Fountains. You recently looked at and approved the Bondi project, 6 units on 12,000 square feet, so 21 units per acre. Prior to that, you had looked at, but didn't proceed on to council, a similar plan, but was double that at 12 units, so 43 units per acre. Belvedere Suites across the street, 38 units. Small project down the street next to Sofritas, has 4 units on the 2,500 square feet, so 69 units per acre. The development agreement for Park Place is at 45 units per acre. So with that, looking at what the needs are for the downtown area, how it translates into the gross density across a full block, staff believes that the 35 units per acre that has previously been approved is a good density for the downtown as that by right. 'Cause when you start putting hurdles, you got to come through, get the special use permit. These great challenges to the market and keeping it moving forward. And so we want to try to encourage these things to happen. So we're recommending keeping the 35, but amending the language to set a maximum overall of a block at 15 units per acre, just on the outside chance that somehow somebody does acquire all the lots, acquires all the parking area, we're not going to get something more than what we really bargained for, intended for the area. I do have John Kozak from, use your name, from the Plat 208 board here this evening, available to talk and answer questions you may have about Plat 208 and how they've looked at this and their comments. Any questions for me at this time?
Well, I do. I have a question. What's the basis for the 35 unit recommendation as opposed to 45 or?
Chairs, looking at these numbers, I can see where you came before with the 45, and staff would not oppose that, but knowing that the council sent it here with the idea it was going to be reduced, didn't know that I wanted to propose it going up. But certainly if the commission, as you stated that, and believe that's what should happen, we'd be glad to take that back to the council.
John, you say it's virtually impossible to get all of the owners, or what's the percentage again for approving a change or modification of the parking?
2/3, 66%.
2/3.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, and for something like this, it might require even more.
Come up. John can answer, as a member of the board, he can answer that better.
Good.
Yeah, so the minimum would be 66%, but for some kind of major change like that, I would anticipate it probably might even be including everyone. And there's over 100 owners and 130 something different, lots in that. So there's really very, very unlikely chance that that could ever happen with all.
Well, what determines whether you need 2/3 or 100%?
I'm not sure. That would be a question for the attorney for the tract, but the minimum would be 2/3 as far as I know.
Have you ever seen what could be done with those parking lots? I mean, has there been any kind of a presentation made to the board about what could be done with those parking lots to enhance them and still not impact or decrease the number of parking stalls?
I mean, right now we are working on trying to do covered parking. It's in the beginning stages of that. Besides that, we haven't pursued any other.
What do you mean covered parking? You mean like a ramp or what?
No, we're working on getting covered parking in the middle sections of the blocks.
Okay.
It's a proposal right now.
So there's
but
never been a redevelopment idea put in front of the board on?
No. There's too many owners, and you're restricted to where your current lot lines are, and that's it. And every owner has a share of the parking. You know, a 132nd or whatever the total number is.
Okay, thanks.
You would, sorry, follow-up question. And I'm not trying to be coy or evasive or anything like that. You said, did you say there's 137 owners?
I think there's 100 owners, but I think there's 130-something parcels.
Okay. And I'm not trying to be difficult. How do you get consensus from all of that group? I mean, do you get?
A lot of the stuff the board just handles. But to do any kind of major change like that or redevelopment, that would require a huge vote.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Yep.
John, is the restriction on first floor on the Ave still not formalized or approved yet as far as restricting the use?
Chair, Commissioner, yes, the ordinance has been approved and is there ready to be applied, but the actual rezoning of the property to apply it has been put on hold pending the outcome of this process here to possibly adjust the density allowance.
So a vacant service, it was a service company, is gone. As of right now, the property owner could lease it to whoever they wanted.
Correct.
But when this goes into effect, it'll have to be an entity that pays sales tax, basically.
Right, active retail, commercial, entertainment type activity, yes.
And that's, that was a change from what we decided as a body, and the council decided that not even an SUP was a possibility, correct?
Correct.
All right. I continue to have a problem with that. Significant problem. Property owners will experience a devaluation of their property if their space on first floor becomes vacant and they can't lease it because nobody can afford to put a restaurant in it. And I think that SUP, maybe somebody way in the back can hear me say, I hope that comes back to reverse it. And it doesn't just treat the property owner poorly, but it also, the lender has a collateral issue because the property's not going to be worth as much if it's vacant, and they are restricted to what type of tenant they can put in there. So I really hope this comes back to us or comes back to the council and there's some more discussion about the downside of doing that. It's all great if you could fill it all with restaurants and drinking establishments and sales tax paying entities, but the likelihood of that, for many reasons, is unlikely. So I think there needs to be some more discussion. I hope there will be at some point in time before this is all finalized. And frankly, I'm going to vote against this, whatever density we come up with, because just kind of out of protest. I don't believe we should be proceeding with this until there is some change or some more discussion about that major problem. I probably am talking off, I shouldn't be, because it's not on the agenda. Is that why? Okay, that's my point.
Anybody else? And I do want to piggyback, I just want to piggyback onto that in that I've said all along there should be a market study for the downtown area. That I don't know that there's enough business to support a downtown area of strictly retail and restaurant and entertainment. And there should be, I recommended that to begin with, and I do believe there should be some sort of market study that tells us how much of the space, how much space should be can be dedicated and can reasonably be expected to be successful in those businesses. But that having been said, if council wants a density, we'll give them a density. So that's the question on the table. Gentlemen, oh, do we have speaker cards on this, Paula?
We do, Chair. We have 2 speaker cards. The first speaker is Crystal Kavanaugh, and the second speaker will be Larry Myers.
Hello, Crystal Kavanaugh, Fountain Hills resident. In the staff report, it said retail follows rooftops, as well, it also said population and population density is needed to attract business. The staff report indicated bringing 300 more apartments to the downtown Plat 208 area alone, and that'd be in addition to whatever ends up being built at the Park Place corner. Downtown apartments could easily attract part-time residents, which isn't great for our sales tax. And how are we so sure that one major developer wouldn't buy them up in a block? Your approval of that density would exclude any possibility of the unique type of entertainment and restaurant districts, such as Old Town Gilbert or Cave Creek have, both of which are marketed as destinations that are actually fun. There is so much traffic on Shea that we are currently widening the roads. Eventually, 316 more apartments will sit in the target lot. How many more apartments do we need to support business? And I'm fully aware of the retail component that's required downtown on the first floors. But Fountain Hills shops do not stay open late and don't bring in the type of sales tax as does entertainment and restaurant bars. And with the residential up above, this limits the types of business you attract on the first floor. Changing the remainder of Plat 208 to bring more apartments doesn't fit the vision of many who choose to live in Fountain Hills. Like I said at the council, rooftop restaurants and bars in scenic Fountain Hills should be a goal, a district. Unique Western themes like Buffalo Bills and Sholo or Cave Creek, for example. A nice steakhouse with craft cocktails downtown would be popular if done right. I mean, we have a Dark Sky Discovery Center coming, bringing visitors. Seek out businesses that complement that with telescopes on rooftops. Or alien entrees and cocktails. Be creative. Make Fountain Hills a destination stop. We can't just keep doing it piecemeal. But that can't happen if you allow this open land to become all apartments. We are already surrounded by apartments in the downtown area. Are they supporting the existing businesses? When I'm out spending money in Fountain Hills, which I am frequently, I primarily meet homeowners for the most part. So I'm not buying that this type of growth is helping. Limited smaller apartment builds like the one approved next to Zabtai are generally not a problem. But enough is enough. Stop changing the makeup of Fountain Hills with all these apartments. Think outside the box and become a destination location that actually does bring vibrancy and sales tax. Thanks.
Larry Myers, resident, 44 years, chair. Commissioners, I second what Crystal said, because essentially the downtown is the last spot in Fountain Hills to actually accomplish something. And to rezone it so that we can have a bunch of apartments, more apartments, will take away the last spot. We struggle because we've rezoned ourselves out of any chance for a corporate headquarters. We can rezone ourselves out of any chance for any type of fun zone. My my term, the fun zone. You can't stick apartments over top of anything that's fun because it makes noise, and the people that live up there would have a complaint. I would if I did, and I wanted to go to bed at 9 o'clock. So this business where we take a bunch of apartments, but we allow something on the first floor, and then I'm with Commissioner Sveum. I don't know that you can tell a landowner what the heck they can do with their land in terms of what kind of tenant they can put in there. What you can do is allow the zoning so that it encourages the type of activity that Crystal Kavanaugh spoke about, and then actually have a staff and a commission and a council that supports that vision, and not only supports the vision, but goes out and does something about it. Because if you don't have a goal and actually work towards it as a unit, a cohesive unit where everybody has the same vision, you will never get there, which is why Plat 208 remains what it is, because there's never been that, and there isn't that now. And just the mere discussion of having a density like that and thinking, oh, we'll get some apartments. Sorry, Mr. Gerzak. Apartments are not going to solve any of the things that this town longs for, especially sales tax revenue. Those people aren't here all year long. I'm here all year long. I know who lives in those apartments. I don't care whether they're 92% filled, because they're only 92% filled 40% of the year. So I say the density isn't the issue tonight. It's get a vision. And Peter Gray said it. We keep dipping our toe, but we never really accomplish anything because we don't have a cohesive vision. So I would encourage everybody, keep the density low, figure it out. Don't try and tell landowners what they can and can't do with their downstairs. It won't work. Thank you.
Any more public speakers?
No, Chair, that was it.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Any comments?
So what would the density be then if it, what is it written as right now? If the motion is to change it to 35 or 45, what is it today?
Chair, Commissioner McDermott, today it's 35 units per acre.
Oh, today it is 35?
Yes.
Okay.
The town council, based on some comments made at the public hearing, requested that it be reconsidered by the P&Z Commission to potentially lower it down to something less, maybe around 15.
Okay, okay.
But the one thing that, when we say 35, it's 35 for the buildable lot,
Not the
which
block.
when you factor in all of the parking, if you were
Right.
to maximize, if you were to have 30, say it was 35, and you did that around the block, it winds up being 15
Right.
when you include the common area.
Yep, okay. New guy question, sorry.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Chair. I raised it before, I think maybe back in January, but this idea about using a winner or a leader or a successful town as a model is, I think, a pretty good idea. If somebody's doing something in Cave Creek that is bringing revenue, sales tax, into town, maybe we ought to study that community, if it's Gilbert, if it's, wherever. And I don't know if that is to be borne by planning and zoning or economic development or the council, but I think it would be a good idea, as Crystal Kavanaugh said, as Larry Myers said, to have a vision, to have a goal, and maybe it isn't based on, apartments. Maybe it's based on another factor that might bring revenue. That's our goal downtown. That's my thought on it.
So, oh, thanks. So as I've been contemplating my opinion and my philosophy, I've been talking with nonprofit development opportunities either through ASU or ULI. ULI reminded me that there was, back in 2010, a community, Larry Myers, you were probably involved in all of this. It came up with 10 recommendations from the Fountain Hills AZ tap. Not the tap house, but the tap. And it's, I don't know where, it's lost somewhere. This is probably one of, maybe there's several of these that have gone on over the years. But I think there needs to be some design work and collaborative effort with the people living here, live downtown, don't live downtown, to have some input and be dedicated to look into this carefully and if it is something that's of interest to the town, then to be involved in making sure that it gets done. Because a lot of these things do collect dust. Let's face it, market studies, I think it's important, but I've seen plenty of those over the years kind of sit on the shelf and really don't get executed, and that's the important part. We lose that execution. So whatever happens with this density issue, fine, but I think there's I'm still going to try to reach out and find an outlet of some interest of those that might help with some design capabilities that for the town to consider. And if there's not support for it, there won't be support. I wouldn't give up on Plat 208. I just wouldn't give up on it. I mean, that's it's such a vital part of the community downtown. There's got to be something that at some point in time that will click with at least 2/3 of the owners. Maybe not, but I think it's important enough to continue to look into, again, whether this density issue goes through tonight. If it's that important, maybe you ought to try to vote on it, I guess.
Well, I think that's our mission tonight, is it not? I mean, it's strictly to consider the density to send back to council, correct?
Yes, Chair, that's the direction that council has asked for your input on.
Yeah,
So one topic.
so we're not reconsidering the overlay, reconsidering any of the language. We're strictly considering density.
Correct.
And staff's recommendation is 35 units an acre for the lots, but in a 15 units an acre for an entire block.
Correct.
Okay. So, commissioners, anybody want to make a motion, make a recommendation? Anybody, any debate on what the number should be?
Chair, are you looking at my direction for some? Yeah, I will make a motion. Before I make a motion, I share Phil's and concerns and the speakers. What's frustrating to me is there's so much potential, but we don't have a roadmap on how to get there. Now I'll fall back on a pet thing that I'd love, but a performing arts center. We need something like Ms. Kavanaugh said. We have the Discovery Center. That's going to bring all kinds of people in, school groups. We need another hook to bring people in. Once you have those hooks, you're going to have requirements for housing, and then we can approach it that way. But we need another hook like the Discovery Center. Performing Arts Center may be one. A STEM research educational center that goes alongside of the Discovery Center, where we have nothing but STEM education. Could be another hook where we bring people in. But just nibbling around the edges like I feel like we're doing tonight is kind of frustrating. But with that said, I'll move that we recommend adoption of Ordinance 2602.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Paula, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Proctor?
Yes.
Commissioner Sevim?
No.
Commissioner Schlossberg?
No.
Commissioner Corrigan?
Permission to explain my vote, Chair?
Go ahead.
First of all, I don't think basing our downtown development on the number of lots per square footage per capita use of apartments, I don't think that's the way to judge it. And I think we ought to reconsider this. I'm not going to say table a motion because it's too late for that. We have a motion, we have a second, and I'm just forced to say no. I'm just going to vote no.
Commissioner McDermott?
No. No.
Didn't you make a recommendation for approval?
For the second? Yeah, so I have to go with the second, right? Right?
Well, you can still vote no.
Yeah, I vote no.
Okay,
Because the second just,
sure. Chair Kovacevic?
Aye.
Okay, we have 2-4.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director, if it's okay with you, I'd like to continue the remaining item on the agenda. So we can move to call to the public.
Okay.
Do we have any speaker cards for call to the public?
No, Chair.
Commission discussion, direction to the director. Anybody have anything for John?
Hey, John. We touched on this back in the, I don't want to talk about signage ever again, but I kind of have to in this particular situation. But we talked about signage and enforcement of the signage. And I actually made the comment, you know, we were talking about how many 1.5 staff people there are to enforce it. And I said, well, I beg to differ because I don't think it's being enforced. And it really, I know it's not being enforced. And I'm speaking from my office building, which is kind of maybe an outlier. But we have signage, which I know has not been approved through the town, that's up on the building, causing my building to look like, I mean, honestly, looks like the ghetto. And I've got some pictures that I can show you. So I'm just asking personally if we can get one of the code enforcement guys to slip by and say, either take it down or get it permitted. That's my request. Thanks.
Anything else for John? Okay, future agenda items?
So from the staff side, we'll have the discussion of the mural ordinance at your next meeting. Anticipating also that we would have a text amendment dealing with community residences on your next agenda. Are you aware of any others? Okay, yes, we have an SUP also that we expect to be on your next agenda. So we do have another busy meeting for you next month, it looks like.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
6-0.